at LTSTV and LROGRS, at Fox Business, at Trishriga, at Fox News 2. It is time for the top executives at FBHQ to resign or be fired. It is also time for FB agents with knowledge of the agency's epic failures to tear down that blue wall of silence and speak out for the good of the country at Fox Business, at Trishriga, at Fox News. At W. Terrence. At Kale Kanani. Breaking Joy reveals Russians organized against Trump on November 12th and 19th of 2016. At Thursday fraud. Do FB secret society like to FISA court federal judges to spy on the Trump campaign? This is the biggest scandal perpetrated by the escort in the history of America. They were with her and used this insurance policy to oust Trump. Obamagate failed. At Opusa, today's indictments are about the social media side of the Russian subversion. We have yet to hear from Mueller about the computer hacking. One thing is clear: anyone who says the Russia investigation is a hoax is a fool and has no business holding federal office. At Ayn Polarian. Hey, Trump. Thanks for finally admitting that Russia meddled in the election. I hope you understand that this round of indictments is simply setting the stage for the final recommendation impeachment. Mueller for day feeling. At Mulber. Finished indictment. Mueller's core story: today's Russians meddled. It was illegal. They had some cooperation from inside the US. That cooperation can be a crime by Americans. By around May 2014, the organization's strategy included interfering with the 2016 US presidential election with the stated goal of spreading
Robert Mueller did everything possible to justify his nonsensical, irrational investigation that was preceded by no crime. Trump is still not accused of a specific crime. Hillary Clinton, transferring top-secret intelligence from secure government locations, Cybernet JWIC's gifts, possibly just plugging in her server into JWIC's somehow. Ask Brian Pagliano, but he ripped up the subpoena. Relates directly to the Espionage Act, even under gross negligence, U.S. Code 793F. Tell me the statute. Tell me, was it treason? Then prove that Trump took money or gave money to any Russian. You can't. Nobody can. So today, of course, Mueller indicted 13 people who have no business, who have no link to the Russian government and no link to Trump, and they went ahead, purchased Facebook ads, fake identities. Still nothing to do with Trump. But if you look at right now, the really, really interesting thing. Well, first off, this is a quote. There's no allegations that any of the, not a direct quote, but there's no allegations that any of the Facebook ads or social media ads or any of the social media or fake identities or activities of the people indicted altered any votes, which is always what you hear with the Democratic National Committee. Oh, we didn't alter any votes. Well, yeah, you had direct collusion with the media. You lied. Debbie Wasserman Schultz lied about a fair and neutral primary. But just go to Trump's. So before, I'm going to get to something that'll destroy the whole narrative today. But Russia started their anti-U.S. campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The result of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion. So you have to prove collusion if you're Mueller. And this is not collusion. This is not evidence of collusion. They make it out to be evidence of collusion, but it's not. Real quick, before I get to the fact that in 2015, I told everyone Clinton would lose. Special counsel Robert Mueller said a grand jury had indicted 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian entities. For alleged interference in the 2016 presidential election. The defendants allegedly conducted information warfare. It's not... Did Hillary Clinton call black youth super predators? Yes, she did. Did Hillary Clinton lie about Bosnian sniper fire? Yes, she did. Did Hillary Clinton vote for the Iraq War? Yes. Did Hillary Clinton oppose gay marriage in 2013? Yes. Did Hillary Clinton use an unencrypted server while meeting with Chinese and Russian officials? Yes. Did she transfer top secret special access program intelligence? Of course. Did the Clinton Foundation have a weapons deal scandal where Clinton, at the State Department and President Obama, their administration, gave exponentially higher weapons deals to countries that donated to the Clinton Foundation? Yes. Did she work on behalf of UBS during her tenure as Secretary of State because UBS gave money to Bill Clinton and the Clinton Foundation? Yes. 50,000 names to the IRS whittled down to a little over 4,000. Did Boeing get a $3 billion deal in Russia because she lobbied? Yes. These are all... So, those are all direct activities with Hillary Clinton that relate to either RICO laws or Espionage Act laws. The defendants use fake American personas, social media platforms, and other media to advance their schemes. So how do they advance their schemes? Did they bring up the fact that she did all those things? If that's the case, it's really not, some kind of... It's just, if they're using actual information, and they're not linked to the Russian government, they're not linked to Trump, because there's still no direct link to Putin. The only direct link to Putin we have is Bill Clinton meeting Putin during the Russian uranium deal, which leads us to the fact that Russia is just fine with Hillary and Bill. The underlying theme here is that, oh my God, Russia really wanted Trump because they're so afraid of Hillary. They're not afraid of Hillary. They were never afraid of Hillary. So, who was allegedly controlled by... Internet Research Agency and so-called troll farm was allegedly controlled by a defendant named Yevgeny Prozogin, a wealthy associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin. How many wealthy associates of Hillary Clinton engage in activities that interfere in the election? Oh, I don't know. How about Cody Shear and Sidney Blumenthal? The actual money payment is Clinton to Fusion GPS and then Fusion GPS to Russian nationals. So there's an actual money trail that starts with Clinton. So disparaging Hillary Clinton, okay. And all of this started years before the election. But the indictment said the Internet Research Agency was registered with the Russian government as a corporate entity in 2013. By in or around 2014, the organization's strategy included interfering in the U.S. 2016 election. So it's right there. It says right there. He wasn't even a candidate in 2014. He didn't even announce that he was running. So all this nonsense. But I am going to ask everyone who is watching this, and every single segment today that I do, I'm going to ask that you please. There is a video on YouTube that I want you to share everywhere. You can share my writing. I'll read my writing also. That states that Clinton, and I always bring it up almost every segment because of a day like today, people need context. I'll put the segment, the YouTube segment, in a pinned tweet. I need everyone who watches this channel, who enjoys my work, I need you to just listen to this.
Drag and drop.
Listen to this YouTube segment. This was when H.A. Goodman cared about how he dressed and thought that he was a progressive and didn't realize that the progressive community, the quote-unquote liberal side of politics, is completely and utterly dysfunctional. Completely and utterly dysfunctional. And they don't care about winning. They only care about a an insane cult mentality. That cult mentality could be about a whole number of topics, from Hillary Clinton to just any topic. Israel, gun laws. There's a cult mentality that it's not. They don't allow any deviation from a certain thought. And when I said that only Bernie wins, Clinton loses to Trump, please, please, please. I don't always ask anything during YouTube segments, but I'm going to ask that you, the best way to combat the dumb propaganda that, 2 years after the election, Mueller finally finds these people. Oh, gee. And there's no direct link, no payment from Trump, no nothing. It started in 2014, and the underlying premise is that they're so afraid of Hillary. They're not afraid of Hillary. She was on the Committee on Foreign Investment, said nothing about uranium going to Putin, and yellow cake uranium was shipped out of the country. But this is a segment I did. H.A. Goodman. Hillary Clinton is unelectable. Only Bernie Sanders can win. 3 minutes. Now, you might disagree with that last statement, but Hillary Clinton is unelectable. I knew that. On October 26, 2015. Please go ahead. Listen to this. It has everything to do with today. Let's put it this way. If you're looking for an instant way to shut down anyone regarding, oh my God, the indictments are here, Mueller time, just send them this.
My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. I'm going to explain to you in about 3 minutes why Hillary Clinton is unelectable and Bernie Sanders is the only hope for Democrats in 2016 and the only hope to prevent the Trump presidency.
I said I only hope for a Trump presidency in 2015. I don't want to toot my own horn, and I don't want to, this isn't about like, today is about Mueller indicting 13 people that have nothing to do with either Putin, or no direct ties to Putin or Trump, that started in 2014, their internet trolling, and didn't affect any swing state. In just a couple minutes, 13 seconds into it, I say that Hillary Clinton's unelectable, and the only chance to stop a Trump presidency is Bernie Sanders. Now, you could disagree with me on that. But the only chance was a Bernie Sanders presidency. We know Clinton was unelectable, and I explained that in 2015. But just check it out.
Number one, people don't trust Hillary Clinton. That's not just my opinion. Favorability polls show that generally across the nation, and especially in swing states, people have an unfavorable view of Hillary Clinton, and they find her not honest and trustworthy. So Quinnipiac University has a swing state. They had 2 swing state polls in the summer, in August and July. And in both of those polls, I'll give you the states right now. It was Colorado, Iowa, Virginia, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. In these polls, voters responded that they find Clinton not honest and trustworthy. They have an unfavorable view of Hillary Clinton. And in Iowa and Colorado and Virginia, voters found that she does not take care of their needs and problems. That's a quote from the actual Quinnipiac poll. In addition to the swing state polls, and that's 95 total electoral votes. So you have 2 sets.
So I was talking about swing state votes in 2015. When Nate Silver was saying that she was going to win by, an 80% margin? Or no, she had an 80% chance of winning. Everybody was saying that she had locked it up already. There were even people that said that she already had the election. In 2015, I think there was an article written in 2014. They didn't know anything. They didn't know what was going on. They were part of a cult. I was not part of a cult. And I just thought, I wrote an article about Rand Paul, how Rand Paul is better than Hillary Clinton, primarily because of an anti-war stance. That was considered blasphemy. You can't imagine the hate on social media that I received. Did people hire Ukrainian Facebook ads or Twitter bots to go after me? No. And then when I wrote the articles that I wrote, in addition to this segment, I wrote in The Hill, The Huffington Post, and Salon, Hillary Clinton is unelectable. because of favorability ratings. That's Huffington Post, but this is The Hill, why Sanders defeats Trump, but Trump defeats Clinton. What does this have to do with today? Because in 2015, I knew all of this. Ultimately, the only hope for Democrats beating Donald Trump is Bernie Sanders. He's honest and real. Okay, so I explain. Trump and the GOP would choose Clinton over a scandal. So when given the choice between Sanders or Clinton, Trump and the GOP would choose Clinton and her scandals over an energized base of progressives championing the Senate's president. Okay, so I explain in the headline and throughout the article why Sanders defeats Trump, but Trump defeats Clinton. But that's just, then I go into the favorability ratings in the Huffington Post. Same with Salon. It's not a matter of, like, tooting my own horn, and it's not a matter, this is not, you have to understand something. Today is vindication, validation of everything that I did in 2015 and early 2016. People tried to shut me down, silence me, all these things. But it didn't work because I was proven right. I was proved correct. And just listen.
You need 270 to win an election. If you have 95 that might go to a Republican, or at least a great percentage of those votes, electoral votes, because people don't trust the candidate and they don't like a candidate, that's horrible for Democrats. CBS News finds that 14% of Democrats will not support Hillary Clinton in an election. That might go up because progressives, I know many progressives who will basically protest and not vote at all if Hillary Clinton is the nominee, mainly because of neoconservative advisors. She was against gay marriage. She has a hawkish foreign policy. She was supporting Keystone XL. She supported the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So there's a lot on the big issues. She's a moderate to conservative Republican, and that's, everybody knows that. In terms of favorability, in terms of national polls, HuffPost pollsters Hillary Clinton favorability rating polls. Out of 10 national polls, she has unfavorable ratings in 9 of them. One poll, CBS poll, respondents by a 20-point margin found her unfavorable. Historically, Americans aren't going to vote for somebody that they don't like or they don't trust. That's just in recent history and historically in presidential elections. In contrast, and just really quickly, Yahoo News finds 57% of Americans don't trust Hillary Clinton, and one CNN poll found 55% of Americans have an unfavorable view of Clinton. In contrast, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible because we're approaching 3 minutes, Bernie Sanders has much higher favorability ratings. People like Bernie Sanders. They trust Bernie Sanders. Even if they don't agree with him, they trust him and they like him. He beats Donald Trump by a wider margin. That's the biggest issue.
All right, so, again, I knew in 2015 I didn't need Russian Facebook ads. I didn't need Russian Facebook ads. Democrats must win swing states in 2016 to prevent Trump or another Republican from sitting in office. I explain in great detail in my latest YouTube segment, and that I linked to that. This is in 2015. October 2015. The whole thing is about in a very real sense, Bernie Sanders is the only electable Democrat for president. So, the only electable Democrat for president. How much more direct could I have gotten? Again, if you're rolling your eyes and you're saying, "Hey, Che, I've had enough. I don't want to hear this. Stop tooting your own horn. I can't stand it. I'm unsubscribing because you're so right, and I want to go to a channel that isn't right. I want to go to a channel that either, talks about Russian hacking or or how Russian Facebook ads influenced the election." Clinton was not going to win. I knew that in 2015. This entire farce of a Mueller probe, of an investigation, ignores the fact that Russia is just fine with Hillary Clinton. they purchased 20% of U.S. uranium capacity from the Obama administration, while an FBI informant stated that the Russians were bragging about having so much influence at the Clinton Foundation and just giving so much money to people, to Democrats on the Committee on Foreign Investment in various forms, in various different ways. The only direct correlation between a money payment is the DNC and Hillary Clinton paying for the Fusion GPS dossier, which Christopher Steele, Cody Shear, and Sidney Blumenthal compiled with Russian sources and paid those Russian sources. So, and then Christopher Steele didn't even see his alleged Russian sources. So the whole point of today is they think there's vindication on their end, the same, Russia bot nonsense, and oh my God, Russians interfered in the election, this is proof. No, it's not proof. No, it's not proof. They start in 2014. It's an issue of them just wanting to interfere no matter what. It's not an issue of them wanting to interfere for Trump. And I explained and I told everyone, and I constantly warned people, for people who would consider it a warning, I stated to them, I explained to them, look, you're going to lose with Clinton. How did I know this? This is the issue. How on earth did I know? How on earth did I know in 2015, when Russia was supposed to influence the election with Facebook ads in 2016? So it's come full circle. It continually comes full circle. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC because the DNC won't give them information on the Russian hacking that never took place. Now Mueller indicts 13 Russian nationals. It's 2008. It's February 16, 2018. Are you kidding me? It's February 16, 2018. So, if this was some kind of wide-ranging conspiracy, the NSA would have had names, would have had links to Trump in 2015. GCHQ was spying on Trump in 2015. James Clapper in January 2016 with 17 with Brainiac genius Chuck Todd told Chuck Todd, James Clapper, the head of the ODNI, stated, oh well, I wasn't given any information. There's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. This is not evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. There's actually, the collusion was still Hillary Clinton purchasing the Fusion GPS dossier with help compiled from. The dossier actually led to a FISA warrant during the election. No, yeah, before, yeah. He was being spied on in 2016. Carter Page, all of them. This was the insurance policy that Peter Strzok talked about with Andrew McCabe. Give me your thoughts below. Oh, by the way, Andrew McCabe, whose wife received $1.2 million from various Clinton operatives. Minor detail. Give me your thoughts. Mueller is, and guess who was the FBI director during the uranium deal? Mueller. I'm leaving 3 links today. Hillary Clinton is unelectable, only Bernie Sanders can win. Why Sanders defeats Trump, but Trump defeats Clinton. And favorability ratings show Hillary Clinton is unelectable. I didn't need Russian Facebook ads. Neither did you. Nobody did. They didn't change a vote. And the operation started in 2014. It had nothing to do with Trump. It had, if anything, it's an operation that trolls. You have no reason. They first have to explain, which they can't, why the Russians fear Trump so badly. Whereas with Obama, who didn't do anything when they invaded the Ukraine, and with Bush, who didn't do anything when they invaded Georgia, and with the 20% of U.S. uranium capacity sold. Whereas with all of that, they would, oh my God, they would view Clinton as this mortal enemy. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. Thank you so much for listening.
Article tells, quote, one woman's account of clandestine meetings, financial transactions, and legal pacts designed to hide an extramarital affair. We'll be following up on his reporting here on Morning Joe, and MSNBC will have coverage on this story throughout the day. We'll be right back.
At Rutlina. At Red Raccoon. Putin, you know, once you outlive your usefulness, I am going to leak all the dirt I have on you. Trump, I want.
Now, there is no allegation in this indictment that any American was a knowing participant in this illegal activity. There is no allegation in the indictment that the charged conduct altered the outcome of the 2016 election.
At Stefan Molino. Dream catchers. At Lucian Wintrick. Can someone look into the correlation between massive ears and psychiatric medications? At Mflinger, at Ted Ludi, at Real Donald Trump. Ted, give it up. You're pulling at strings. Read the full indictment before making an idiotic comment like one below. Wait, I forgot you're used to doing that. At Ted Lu, at Mflinger Ted. Dear at Mflinger, feel free to call my tweet idiotic because I am cool like that. But I did read the indictment. It says the Russians interfered in our elections and conspired with persons known and unknown. Hopefully your guilty dad will shed light on who those persons are. At W. Terrence. Reading comments about the shooter is making me sick to my stomach. How could anyone have sympathy for him? I don't care if he was adopted. So was I, and I am not out shooting people. He is a thug, disgusting animal and a terrorist. With all the supposed facts thrown around this school shootings, here are 6 statistics you should know related to the subject. The counts include conspiracy to defraud U.S., wire and bank fraud conspiracies, and aggravated theft. At McFarb1, unhook the vote a great day. The first of many. With great days we get flooded with bots and trolls. Twitter has picked a side. It is up to us. Please let us all clean them out. Open the bandwidth for knowledge and action. They have cost us enough. Leading up to the 2016 election, Julian Assange made no bones publicly about his opposition to Hillary Clinton, so to find out in private messages just leaked to The Intercept that he believed her. At T. Penusa, today, Bob Mueller laid a rock-solid foundation. On this rock he will build a great hall of justice while tear down a White House full of corruption.
And the political system in general. According to the allegations in the indictment, 12 of the individual defendants worked at various times for a company called Internet Research Agency, LLC, a Russian company based in St. Petersburg. The other individual defendant, Yevgeny Viktorovich Bogozin, funded the conspiracy through companies known as Concord Management and Consulting, LLC, Concord Catering, and many affiliates and subsidiaries. The conspiracy was part of a larger operation called Project Lakta. Project Lakta included multiple components, some involving domestic audiences within the Russian Federation and others targeting foreign audiences in multiple countries. Internet Research Agency allegedly operated through Russian shell companies. It employed hundreds of people in its online operations, ranging from creators of fictitious personas to technical and administrative support personnel with an annual budget of millions of dollars. Internet Research Agency was a structured organization headed by a management group and arranged into departments, including graphics, search engine optimization, information technology, and finance departments. In 2014, the company established a translator project focused on the United States. In July of 2016, more than 80 employees were assigned to the translator project. Two of the defendants allegedly traveled to the United States in 2014 to collect intelligence for their American influence operations. In order to hide the Russian origins of their activities, the defendants allegedly purchased space on computer servers located here in the United States in order to set up a virtual private network.
Hopkins, very impressive. Wow. At Harvard, they had questions.
Judge Jeanine Pirro is known for her sharp mind, which is promptly in plain view, whether she is without anyone else show, or showing up somewhere else. She has Judge Jeanine Pirro is known for her sharp mind, which is promptly in plain view, whether she is without anyone else show, or showing up somewhere else. She has of late made a stand against Michelle Obama after the previous first woman offended female Trump voters around the nation. Michelle said that ladies who voted in favor of Trump over Hillary were voting against their own voice for not supporting a female competitor. The judge reasons that Michelle didn't put excessively thought into her announcement. In 2008, Michelle voted in favor of her husband, Barack Obama, rather than Hillary Clinton, for the Democrat essential. In that sense, this makes Michelle a faker who isn't bashful about uncovering her. Michelle has been stubbornly opposing the president and going about as though she were as yet the first woman. She is showing up and assailing the country for choosing Donald Trump. What does it mean for us as women that we look at those two candidates as women, and many of us said, "That guy, he's better for me. His voice is more true to me," Michelle expressed at a conference Wednesday. She proceeded with, "Well, to me that just says you don't like your voice. You like the thing you're told to like." Michelle is by all accounts missing the incongruity that she is condemning individuals disliking things she is directing them to like. Judge Pirro met on Fox and Friends to discuss explanations made by Michelle Obama. Pirro dug in and handled the affectation in different ways. To suggest that women are so simple that they vote based on their reproductive organs only, or Madeleine Albright saying that there's a special place in hell for women who don't vote for other women, is just so simplistic it throws us back to the Dark Ages, Pirro expressed. Her point appeared to be that we are past the purpose of simply voting in favor of somebody in light of gender. Rather, the character and values of individuals ought to choose how they are dealt with, and regardless of whether they are justified regardless of our vote. Pirro goes ahead to clarify why ladies really voted in favor of Trump. She refers to reasons, for example, Trump's quality on the economy and his will to dispense with terrorist dangers in our nation. Individuals had a tendency to maintain a strategic distance from Clinton on account of her feeling of entitlement.
Presidential
She
election
sincerely trusted that she should have been president on no different basis than she is the Hillary Clinton. Many individuals
New York
were
prosecutors
turned
whose
off by
Harvey
that
Weinstein
part of her,
studio
and
had
in
reported
addition,
Sale News
the
DW
unmistakable markers that she is a crook look no more remote than her private email server and the Clinton Foundation for evidence of her shady conduct. She ought to have been detained long prior. Pirro completed the piece by saying, "So I guess then Michelle Obama didn't know her own voice when she voted for her husband against a woman? It is rousing to see somebody confront the liberal machine with such a solid What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below.
us tonight. Robin, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Tucker.
White House blames Russia for not picking up the most costly cyber attack in history. Wired.
Or anything like that, but this has gone on over a year, and it's prevented government from doing the things that government ought to do, this investigation. And so I think it's fair as a citizen to say, what do you got? Like, what's this about? You're accusing people of treason, betraying their country. And the only thing that
the Google Chrome ad blocker has already changed the way Wired
carefully is this dossier, which is, prima facie flawed. Is there anything else at the bottom of this?
Well, yes, you know as well as I do that to obtain a FISA warrant, you have to have at least 10 forms of evidence, of corroborating evidence. That was just one of them, and Comey was correct to call parts of it salacious.
Deeply talks the future of Syria's female Syria deeply.
It's still ongoing. We haven't been privy to that.
Okay,
and there's 5 other investigations.
Right. Tons of I mean, that's all we do in Washington is stage investigations. Right. And look, at a certain point, you think, that's fine, I get it, the allegations out there, get to the bottom of it. But this is the basis of a partisan war right now. And at some point, the rest of us have a right to, what exactly are you talking about? So you've got the dossier. What else is there? Can you point to a single other fact that suggests
never afraid French 16-year-old snowboarder prayer wins surprise Olympic silver France 24.
Now, you're a smart man. You know as well as I do that FBI
Nobel laureate to quit Sox Femme Ambassador Olympic JRTS sex scandal France 24.
From those investigations.
No, but there are congressional investigations.
We know that people have been charged. We know that there have been charges.
But none of the charges have anything to do with collusion with the Russian government. I mean, you had
Business News Markets reports and financial news from Sky News.
2 others charged for lying to the FBI. I mean,
Amtrak survived Richard Nixon cannot overcome Donald Trump. Wired.
So let's, honestly, the whole leadership of your party is accusing
Israeli archaeologists in North Ireland News 8 News DW08 2.2018.
I want to go back to the very first thing that you said. Struck a chord with me because as a veteran, I had the same oath to uphold the Constitution that our federal agents do. So they're just doing their jobs to uphold our way of democracy.
But I'm not attacking our federal
investigation.
I'm not attacking them. I'm talking about our leaders in Congress, our elected leaders, who have gone way out on a limb, accusing people they disagree with politically of working for a foreign and hostile nation. And I think now, after a year, more than a year, it's fair of me to ask, what are you talking about? Do you have any evidence that that's true? And as I said, the only piece I can see is the dossier, which I doubt you will defend because it's impossible to defend. So is there something else that is forming the basis of these allegations?
Salacious. Yes, like I said, there were at least 9 other forms of corroborating evidence. We are not privy to that information because it's an open FBI investigation.
So do you believe
the public is not?
What percentage of FISA warrant requests are granted by FISA judges? Do you know?
It's something like 98.2%.
Right.
And I agree, that's a lot. And I'm just being honest.
So what? It's a lot. Yeah, well, it's obviously fake. I mean, if it's it's like an Albanian election under Enver Hoxha, you get all the votes. So I think it's fair for me to ask, what was the evidence? You've stopped our government from working. Why are you doing that? What do you know that we should know about Trump's collusion with Russia? And the answer is
Copycat how Facebook tried to squash Snapchat. Wired.
It's all a bad joke. Then what else is there?
That's one of, I don't want to be so redundant, but it's one of at least 9 other forms of corroborating evidence.
Can you name any of the 9?
Bebos should quit over Florida school shooting failure.
Open FBI investigation.
Okay, so you have faith that they exist.
I don't work at the FBI.
No, I understand.
They have to. In order to get a FISA warrant, they have to exist.
Even though over 90% of even though over 90% of warrants are granted, which suggests the process isn't real and you don't need real evidence to get one? Okay, so but we should all just
analyst that I've heard says that these FISA warrants are between 60 to 90 pages, so it can't just be this salacious.
So
dossier.
they're long, therefore they must be true. Is that what you're saying? I mean, you're just asking me to have a lot of faith in a system that clearly needs some scrutiny and oversight, and I wonder why I can't have some facts.
Because it's an open investigation. I can't make that any
Munich Security Conference as government nowhere near regulating Bitcoin.
Of law and order, I feel that this is an attack on the preeminent law enforcement agency in the country.
No, you feel that that's a talking point the Democrats set out this morning, but it's not going to work on this show because
I didn't even know
I
that.
actually do believe in law and order, and in order to believe in it, I need to know that the people administering it are on the level, and therefore I have a right to ask honest questions, and I'm not getting any honest answers.
Course. Okay. Because it's an open investigation. I mean, what do you want?
My last question then, since you don't know what this investigation is based on, only the FBI does, and no one making these allegations knows either. Can we agree that nobody should accuse anybody else of being a tool of a foreign government until we get that data, those facts?
You'd better believe it.
Syrian conflict isn't over. Don't you forget the Syrians, although Syria deeply.
I like that this has been made a partisan issue. I just want them to do their job. If President Trump is so innocent, let this be run, let this go unimpeded, and have himself be exonerated.
He is innocent because we're all innocent until proven
ICE
guilty.
agents arrested over 200 people in Los Angeles over a 5-day span Pacific Standard.
You too.
Whatever they say about the Russia investigation, the FBI text messages are pretty embarrassing. Pretty amazing, too. Mark Stein is taking a close look at them. He joins us next. Newly released text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page don't simply have implications for the Russia investigation, but also very embarrassing for the FBI. They tell us more than maybe we wanted to know. In one text exchange, Strzok refers to the Virginia citizens he serves as, quote, ignorant hillbillies. He misspells the word, by the way, irony of ironies, for the crime of not electing Andrew McCabe's wife to the Virginia legislature. Ignorant hillbillies. The text also includes Strzok and Page's shared post-election meltdown. Strzok, who is an adult male, messaged Page in all caps, "OMG, this is effing terrifying," he squealed. Page replied, "OMG, I am so depressed." Obviously an articulate group. A few days later, Page wrote this, "I bought all the president's men. I figure I need to brush up on Watergate." The next day she added, "God, being here makes me angry. Lots of highfalutin national security talk. Meanwhile, we have our task ahead of us." What our task was remains unclear. Mark Stein is an author and columnist. He's seen these texts, and he joins us tonight. Uneducated hillbillies, huh?
OMG, Tucker. LOL. I think
Gun control advocacy groups issue calls to action after 17 killed in school shooting.
These guys as like John Le Carre rewritten by Teen Beat, and I'm glad to say they've managed to keep that up.
Commerce recommends major tariffs on steel and aluminum oxios.
Nobody ever resigns in Washington unless they're caught up in this Me Too business. So if Lisa Page were to stand in front of a camera and say that Peter Strzok had conducted one meeting wearing Harvey Weinstein's bathrobe, he'd be out. But absent that, nobody resigns. I don't understand why these two are still in government service. We were accused of being bigots by Joy Reid and her chums at MSNBC a week or two back. These people actually are bigots. They think of Virginians as hillbillies. They think of Romanians as sleazy. At one point they're talking about this guy Guccifer, the big internet guy in Romania.
Trump cites mental health not guns in speech on shooting.
As a sleazy Romanian, and Lisa Page struck back that all Romanians are sleazy. They combine the crookedness of Russians with the entitledness of Italians. So what's that? 1, 2, 3 nation states whose entire populations have just been put down. I mean, the banality of
Turkey has suffered dark relations tips over its crackdown, the New York Times.
And the United States says it will continue to arm Kurdish YPG forces in Syria despite Turkey's fierce opposition.
We have always been clear with Turkey that the weapons provided to the Syrian Democratic Forces would be limited, mission-specific, and provided on an incremental basis to achieve military objectives only.
U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson made those comments during a joint press conference with his Turkish counterpart in Ankara. Tillerson criticized Ankara for detaining thousands of its own citizens as well as American nationals as part of a post-coup operation. He called the incarcerations unjust. Tillerson also called on Turkey to show restraint in its offensive against YPG militants in the northern Syrian region of Afrin. The Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu clearly explained Ankara's stance on unresolved issues. He admitted that relations between the two countries are at a critical juncture.
Trump administration recommends steep tariffs on steel and aluminum February 16, 2018.
Our relations are at a critical stage. We will either mend our relations or they would go worse. Since last night, we agreed to normalize our relations with a common will and we came to an agreement.
Hold up. I'm going in. I found this scraping the internet. I feel so dirty now. Apple Hash employees walk into glass doors by. Just take a minute and look at this. Apple Park, the tech titan's new Silicon Valley spaceship headquarters, is considered a feat of architecture and design. Apple's design chief, Jony Ive, himself led its creation. And yet, the campus seems to have a problem. People keep walking into the building's signature glass walls and doors, according to reports from Bloomberg and MarketWatch. MarketWatch cites sources at Apple who say that because so much of Apple Park's interior is made of glass, people keep smacking into walls and closed doors. In 2 cases, the injuries were so bad that the company had to call emergency services, MarketWatch confirmed with public records. Recognizing the problem, employees began to put sticky notes on glass doors so employees would know they were there. But Apple management removed them because they didn't match the design of the building, Bloomberg reported. Apple's co-founder Steve Jobs originally proposed the $5 billion Apple Park campus shortly before his death in 2011. It officially opened to Apple employees earlier this year, supplanting the One Infinite Loop campus as the company's main seat of power. Hookup Hash leader Henry Bolton. Scrutiny of my personal life like Diana. Wild, this is just wild.
Some fun.
There's probably been nothing like that since the Profumo affair or Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed, Henry Bolton tells Sky News. (1935), Friday 16th February 2018. By Louis Goodall, political correspondent. On the face of it, you might not think Henry Bolton has much in common with Princess Diana. But the UKIP leader has a different view. Marlins SP Denstreli Glagi and Carlos Stanton, Christian Yelich Arbon Bar Bleacher Report. This one is over the top. Miami Marlins starting pitcher Denstreli said he's glad the organization traded outfielders Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich, adding, if they don't want to be here, good for them. On Friday, Stephen Wine of the Associated Press relayed comments from Straley, one of the veteran players not dealt so far during the team's off-season overhaul. I really agree with what happened, he said. I feel like with the pieces they brought in, this might flip around a little quicker than people realize. I'm not staying today, but I'm excited to be here and try to mentor guys coming into the big leagues for the first time. The Marlins, new owners, led by Bruce Sherman and New York Yankees legend Derek Jeter, entered their first winter in charge with a goal to dramatically reduce the team's payroll. In an 8-day span starting the 7th, they traded D. Gordon to the Seattle Mariners, Stanton to the Yankees and Marcell Ozuna to the St. Louis Cardinals. Lunar New Year. CNBC looks at Chinatowns worldwide. Check this. Forget January 1st. For proponents of Far Eastern culture, the new year in 2018 begins on February 16th. The celebration of Lunar New Year has spread internationally, partly thanks to the far reach of Chinese expatriate communities. CNBC takes a look at iconic Chinatowns across the world as they see in the Year of the Dog. Although the Chinese make up the largest ethnic group in Singapore, the city has its own Chinatown, located in its Outram district. After Singapore's establishment in 1824, the Chinese immigrant population boomed. The city-state's Chinatown was geographically allocated by its British colonial founder, Sir Stamford Raffles. The area's alternative name Niu Che Shui, or bullock cart water, refers to the archaic practice of fresh water brought into the area by bullock-drawn carts. London's Chinese community originally settled in Limehouse, to the east of the city, in the 18th century, before relocating to Chinatown's current Soho location in the 1950s, seeking cheap rent. In the ensuing decades, workers in their tens of thousands arrived from the former British outpost of Hong Kong. Chinese food businesses were boosted by British soldiers returning from wars in the Far East with a new appetite for Chinese cuisine. London's Chinatown as it looks today began to take shape in The 1980s, when it received its signature Chinese gates. Trump administration has recommends steep tariffs on steel and aluminum February 16, 2018. People are wild. The suggested tariffs, offered by Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross in the name of national security, are the latest indication that President Trump's trade talk is turning from bar to bite. They also raise the risk of a trade war with China and other nations. Ross suggested 3 options for Trump: impose across-the-board tariffs on steel and aluminum, target select countries with even higher tariffs, or limit the total steel and aluminum coming into the United States. Trump could choose any of those options or a combination. A White House spokeswoman said the recommendations are among the documents Trump is reviewing to make his decision. She noted Trump could take some action or no action at all. Ross gave Trump 3 suggested options on steel. An across-the-board tariff of 24% on imports from all countries. Their apparent goal was espionage. Their tactics were #social media 101. This is amazing. If a brand today wants to promote a new product, it would order its social media team to tailor posts that resonate with its audience, buy targeted ads to reach impressionable eyeballs, and closely monitor the performance of its messaging to ensure it reaches and influences as many viewers as possible. If a Russian troll farm wanted to disrupt an American election and amplify discord in an open society, it would apparently do the exact same things. That's one of the key takeaways from an indictment filed Friday by Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III against 13 Russians and 3 Russian companies that allegedly sought to interfere with the 2016 presidential election and aid the Trump campaign. The indictment describes textbook usage of American tech platforms, shedding light on an alleged covert campaign that aims to undermine the political process by exploiting features, not bugs, of social media services. The ease in which anyone can feign ideas on social media is both its selling point and its flaw, the alleged Russian conspiracy shows. At Youngdoms for Trump. You know why we have such a mental health issue in this country with the younger generation? It is because liberal parents rely on the government to raise their kids. Parents are not just supposed to produce kids, they are supposed to raise them, teach them, enjoy them, love them. At VXJNOV, South Broward High School took a stand for what they believe in today. We stand for the bus. Last strong.
his extra point.
Another high school shooting yesterday, this one in Florida. 17 dead, the last report I saw. And everybody sends their thoughts and prayers again because that works so well. This is the 18th high school shooting in America this year, and we have 10 and a half months to go. We've had 290 since 2013. We average about one a week, but there's just nothing we can do. If it was a Muslim or a Mexican doing the shooting, how many new laws and how much money would we spend then to stop the madness? But since it's almost always a white kid, there's just nothing we can do. America has 5% of the world's population, and yet 31% of the world's mass shootings. We're worried about people coming to this country. They should be worried about us going to theirs. Australia had 4 mass shootings between 87 and 96. They passed stricter gun laws and haven't had a single mass shooting since. And here I thought, guns don't kill, people do. Is this the people we are? Last time I said we need to find a way to stop a nut with a gun, and that's all I said. I get an email saying, I'm saving my last bullet to put it right between your eyes. Just another responsible gun owner in America, and I'm taking all bets he's a white guy. So there's just nothing we can do. I'm Dale Hansen. It's getting harder to enjoy the day.
Atlantic Olympics. What a Winter Olympics so far. Which moment has been your favorite? At Thomas 1774 Pain. Hate fatigue, CNN viewership collapses 30%. Massive layoffs, a cancerous fake news crisis, and the humiliating and expensive implosion of its digital platform appear to be the least of CNN's problems. Because on top of all that, when at a good man out there, Trump no collusion on Hey YouTube in minutes. Check YouTube notifications. At Mike Zollo. Am I living in the real world? Mueller is now indicting Russians that used certain hashtags. Let us clear this up once and for all. A couple of hashtags did not convince us to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump convinced us to vote for Donald Trump. Is this a joke, is it? At George Addertrode, at Judge Jeanin. We need to protect kids, ampersand that means we've got to have metal detectors, we've got to have experienced cops. We've got to be able to have perimeter controls, teachers who can carry a weapon, ampersand react to this kind of nonsense, at Judge Jeanin.
Here is his extra point.
Another high school shooting yesterday, this one in Florida. 17 dead, the last report I saw. And everybody sends their thoughts and prayers again because that works so well. This is the 18th high school shooting in America this year, and we have 10 and a half months to go. We've had 290 since 2013. We average about one a week, but there's just nothing we can do. If it was a Muslim or a Mexican doing the shooting, how many new laws and how much money would we spend then to stop the madness? But since it's almost always a white kid, there's just nothing we can do. America has 5% of the world's population, and yet 31% of the world's mass shootings. We're worried about people coming to this country. They should be worried about us going to theirs. Australia had 4 mass shootings between 87 and 96. They passed stricter gun laws and haven't had a single mass shooting since. And here I thought, guns don't kill, people do. Is this the people we are? Last time I said we need to find a way to stop a nut with a gun, and that's all I said. I get an email saying, I'm saving my last bullet to put it right between your eyes. Just another responsible gun owner in America, and I'm taking all bets he's a white guy. So there's just nothing we can do. I'm Dale Hansen. It's getting harder to enjoy the day.
at Ingraham Engel, at King James, at Real Donald Trump, at Fox News 52. Tonight more fallout from player turned pundit LeBron at King James, profanity-laced comments at Real Donald Trump, 10 bet at Fox News. At Red Raccoon. Do you know what we have in common with LeBron James? All of us have an equal vote and voice when it comes to our elected officials. Telling him to shut up and dribble is telling all of us that our voices don't matter. We all matter. At Monato. Spread their shame. They sold their souls to gun makers for political bribes.
Ohio Republican Rob Portman tweeted about the heartbreaking news and sent prayers while he has received $3 million in support from the NRA. Joni Ernst, Republican of Iowa, asked her followers to join in prayer, thank the first responders. She received $3.1 million in support. Florida Republican Marco Rubio tweeted updates and called it a terrible day you pray never comes. His campaign has benefited from $3.3 million in funding and opposition attacks thanks to the NRA. Colorado.
At Ron and Faro, at New York. One woman has detailed account of an affair and dozens of pages of documents reveal patterns in Donald Trump's behavior with women and an elaborate system of payoffs and intermediaries used to silence women with stories about him. My new at New Yorker story. One woman's account of the clandestine meetings, financial transactions, and legal pacts that aid a future president's extramarital affairs. Billionaire hedge fund founder Ray Dalio has reportedly taken on a huge short position against a number of Europe's biggest companies, including Attorney AT. I don't always say I told you so, but when I do, it is because I told you so. Happy Friday while Russia collusion Trump 2020. At Chris Hayes. Reading this indictment, I am convinced Mueller will actually get to the bottom of all of this, something I don't think I've quite been convinced of before.
Yeah, they're not lawyers. They're not legal journalists. I'm explaining to you why Mueller's investigation has now officially cleared Trump while also implicating the Clinton crime family. So let's
also subsequently convene an accountability board. And I think if you were to read those reports, and including the accountability board, you would see that it determined that the actions of the CIA were reasonable, given the very unclear and unwritten or unspecific understanding between the committee and CIA at the time. In terms of
Mr.
what...
Director, my time is short, but that's not what the Inspector General or
I respectfully disagree.
I'd like to read the exact words. The exact words of the review board were, it resulted in inappropriate access to SSCI work product. And your Inspector General reached the same conclusion. And so the question here is when you're talking about spying on a committee responsible for overseeing your agency, in my view, that undermines the very checks and balances that protect our democracy, and it's unacceptable in a free society, and your compatriots in all of the sister agencies agreed with that. Now, you disagree?
Yes, I think you've mischaracterized both their comments as well as what's in those reports. And I apologize to the chairman and the vice chairman about the de minimis access and inappropriate access that CIA officers made to 5 emails or so of Senate staffers during that investigation. And I apologize to them for that very specific, inappropriate action that was taken as part of a very reasonable investigative action. But do not say that we spied on Senate computers or your files. We did not do that. We were fulfilling our responsibilities.
I read the exact words of the Inspector General and the exact words of the review board. You appointed the review board. They said nobody ought to
Thomas
be punished.
1774 Pain.
Improper
Be too
access.
busy with Trump Pro. Inner turmoil to follow up on HS shooter tips.
Responsibilities to do vigorous oversight, and we can't do vigorous
Often after a
oversight.
horrible shooting, the reports are all the same. Family, friends, casual acquaintances all say they are shocked. They never saw such a thing. Just one day before the shooting in Florida, State House GOP candidate Tyler Tannehill announced this giveaway. It is still ongoing. At Fox News, at GOP at Tinkavuto 03527.4, at GOP on Russians indicted for election meddling. These indictments are very telling that the Obama administration lost sight of Russia during their tenure. At Tinkavuto.
Democracy, and we need to get to the bottom of it, and we need to find out what we can do in 2018 to prevent this from happening in our midterm elections.
Start with your take on today's indictments, the significance and what you think they portend for the near future.
First of all, our hearts are still grieving over the Parkland, Florida shootings, and I'm hoping that there's going to be actions taken to prevent such occurrences in the future. But I think these indictments do several things. One is that they really do validate the findings of the intelligence community in terms of Russian interference as well as the motivations for it. Secondly, it shows that Bob Mueller and the investigative team have really done a great job as far as uncovering the extent and depth of Russian engagement and involvement, and also the relatively sophisticated manner that Russia carried out these tactics. And third, I think it just is indicative that this investigation is ongoing. It's making progress, and today's indictments I don't think are going to be the last word by any stretch. So I am expecting that there's going to be more things that will be coming out in the weeks ahead.
Director, I want to ask you, because when we replay, as we often do, your testimony, it was always so careful when you spoke to the question of what you knew while the presidential campaign was in its full-throated heat. In the summer of 2016, the fall of 2016, there's been extensive reporting now about how the Obama administration grappled with what you knew to be true about Russian meddling. Based on just the body of information that you all knew as an intelligence community, how significant is it that this is becoming public now, and how much more should the public expect to learn?
Well, I think it just demonstrates that the work that was done by the intelligence community as well as by the FBI during this campaign really was able to identify Russian activities, and that
at Bongino. Jane, no collusion. February, no collusion. Mar, no collusion. Upper, no collusion. May, no collusion. June, no collusion. July, no collusion. August, no collusion. Sep, no collusion. October, no collusion. November, no collusion. Back, no collusion. Today, no collusion. Media collusion. Collusion.
Torelli. He is a former FBI special agent and spokesman, also author of the book How to Spot a Terrorist Before It Is Too Late. Okay, John, the detail was quite shocking that came out this afternoon of the FBI admitting, look, we actually had a concerned citizen leave on an FBI tip line very pointed warning about this young man, saying that, look, he loves guns, he's put some very disturbing things on social media, and yes, could be a potential school shooter. I mean, but it turns out none of this was passed on to the field office in Miami. In fact, nothing was done at all. What's your reaction to that?
It's extremely unfortunate because the FBI relies on the public's assistance to be able to try to prevent these types of crimes or solve them when they occur. Obviously, something broke down during the way, but it could very well be because the FBI receives so much information, deciding how you're going to triage what is going to be looked at immediately versus what is going to be looked at later on. It's not just a school shooter, it's information on terrorists and other things that every day the FBI is being inundated with.
Today, by the way, Chinese New Year, and it is the year of the dog. Why do I tell you this? Well, LPL Financial says it could be a good sign for equities because historically
news and current affairs from Germany and around the world. DW
average gains of 12.7%. Not bad.
Germany considering free public transportation to take on air pollution. News DW 13.2018.
Founder of Bubba Trading. Todd, thank you for doing this for us. We're going to stick with the dog theme. What are your dogs of the Dow? Who don't you like?
Barack and Michelle Obama portraits unveiled in Washington. News DW 12.2018.
Exxon, and I don't like Chevron. I think that oil is going to have a very rough year this year. I think that the formation oil suggests that oil is going to go lower. And I think that will take those stocks down. They're already down significantly. In fact, Exxon's on a 52-week low now. So I think it goes lower. And I think all the oil stocks get punished this year.
And you don't like GE?
Well, GE was the easy one, right? If you asked for a dog of the Dow, right. I would actually be a buyer of GE somewhere in here.
Right. Okay. So what's the top dog?
I like Intel. I think they've straightened out their act. I think all their troubles are behind them. And I think they're going to do something what Microsoft did and kind of reinvented themselves and give themselves a better business organization. And they're at a real nice level here. I think they've already seen the pressure. I look for them to move higher from here. And I think that'll be one of the good bright spots for the Dow this year.
About 30 seconds, Todd. Are we still in recalibration mode on the markets? We had the drop, now we've had a pause. Is there more volatility?
I think there's going to be a lot of volatility, actually. I think that the market action suggests that a near-term top is in and that we should see some selling and probably go back and test those lows we put in last week. Overall, I think, long term, you're a buyer of the market.
Olympic alpine skier Ted Ligety races for gold on and off the slopes.
And we go lower.
All right. Thank you so much. Todd Horowitz, Bubba Trading. As always, thank you so much.
Peter Thiel, now he's a hotshot tech guy, co-founder of PayPal. He's leaving Silicon Valley because of its liberal politics. Second point, the state continues to push to give illegals the right to vote once they get a driver's license. I don't like that. Joining us now, Lydia Ortega, Republican candidate running for California's lieutenant governorship. Lydia, I'm serious about this. If California goes forward with this motor voter, get the illegals on the book story, then you're going to corrupt America's electoral process.
Understanding America's endgame in Syria deeply.
I'm not sure I can stop it, but I'm going to work to do that. I know that if the one party has to break the law to get voters, then
Israeli archaeologists in North Roman Air Mosaic News DWO 82.2018.
Teal out of Silicon Valley. You can't voice a
counting the homeless on the streets of Paris, France 24.
And in most of California now, one-party rule has really stopped us from being able to express
Macron
ourselves.
praised as French economy powers ahead, France 24.
Well, it is really a one-party state. I think it's been a long, long time since any Republican was elected to a statewide office. I know you're trying to
analysis Iran and Israeli containment in Syria deeply.
I do, and I'm ready for this challenge. My parents always said, don't be a complainer about what's happening unless you're willing to do something about it. And so finding this office of Lieutenant Governor is something that I can do, not as a politician, but as a public
Russian
servant.
stocks stumble on Mueller indictments.
What's going to be your line of attack? What are you basing your candidacy on?
I'm basing it on my ability to think as an economist, to challenge ideas, and to get the Democratic Party to come to the table to talk about what works for the people that are not expressing their opinions because they're afraid of retribution. That's not...
I wonder what's going on. Check these digits. Hash Olympic skeleton athletes and helmets. This is amazing. There may not be a Winter Olympics sport more terrifying than the skeleton. This is the sporting event where athletes voluntarily hurl themselves headfirst down a curving ice track at speeds of over 80 mph with no brakes. While most people may be too afraid to try it, it certainly does make for a fantastic spectator sport. For the athletes willing to risk life and limb for the glory of an Olympic medal, apparently you need a super cool helmet. The skeleton helmets at the Pyeongchang Olympics are creative pieces of art that not only serve to protect the riders' noggins, they also seem to embody the spirit of the athlete wearing them. Here is a sampling of some of our favorites. Photo above. Akbasi Frimpong of Ghana. At Prosen, at Arjankarpa, at Jorgasoro. Read at Arjankarpa on the latest piece from at Jorgasoros discussing the future of us tech giants like Facebook and Google. It is only a matter of time before the global dominance of the U.S. internet companies is broken, George Soros said. At Maddo. So much for my plan to take the day off. See ya at 9 p.m. at MSNBC. At Thomas 1774 Payne. Bill would allow Alabama teachers to carry firearms. State Rep. Will Ainsworth, R. Guntersville, will introduce a bill into legislation allowing some public school teachers and administrators to be armed at Conservative political operative Ali Akbar met with Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey this week to discuss the future of conservatives on the platform. At Sarah Palanusa, not good. Liberals have been running around lecturing us about how another gun law would have stopped the horrific shooting in Florida this week. They have a... At the Trump train. The accuracy is troubling. At What Funky Town. Buff B admits to missing a second chance to focus on the Florida shooter from a quite alarming hot tip line call. They also dropped the ball in Orlando and Charleston. They've been busy trying to unseat our POTUS instead of stopping a killer ass. Talk about misplaced priorities. At Wong. Just so we're clear, there was nothing in the indictment that said the election results were not impacted, or that there was no collusion. In other news, Trump just admitted that the Russia investigation is not a witch hunt or a hoax. At CNN, Hillary Clinton urged political action in response to the deadly school shooting in Parkland, Florida, pushing her followers to remember these feelings in November and vote. At MCSPOCKY, at Wesley Jordan. For party. Mueller indictments party FB special counsel it's Mueller time. At Ed Grasson. Blue. From the Mueller indictment, defendants knowingly and intentionally conspired each other and with persons known and unknown to the grand jury. Trump asked Russians to hack Hillary's emails. Doesn't this make him one of the known co-conspirators, not yet indicted?
If a delicious matcha tea donut is made, and no one is there to taste it, is it delicious?
At Zedari. Just gonna drop this here.
Perfect moment, and no one ever sees it. Was it perfect? If a small business opens, and no one ever buys anything, is it a business? It's not enough to just make something. Make your business stand out.
At Stefan Molino, at CN, life comes at CNN Fast.
Start your free trial today and use offer code SoundCloud.
At Tapstry Media, the indictment against 13 Russians names the internet research agency with Media Syntes at Mike's Info as the Modnov Info, Concord Management and Consulting, Concord Catering, Yevgeny Prigozhinok, Putin's chef, Mikhail Bystrov, Mikhail Berchik, Alexandra Krylova continued. In the second episode of his 6-part series on Blowback, Mehdi Hazen shows how George W. Bush's decision to invade Iraq led to the birth of ISIS. At Real Donald Trump. Russia started their NTS campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion. At Scopperseller. Florida Governor Rick Scott is calling for FBI Director Christopher Wray to resign after the bombshell discovery that FBI was warned about shooter Nicholas Cruz. The rest of us are still wondering why the hell Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are still employed. Too for they feeling. At Ed Grasson. Mueller just ensured that if Trump tries to fire Robert Mueller or Rod Rosenstein, he would be aiding and abetting Russia's crimes against the U.S., and if Congress doesn't protect them, they will be doing the same. At Elise Jordan. This Russian operation had staff in the hundreds, and a monthly budget of $1.25 mil per month by Set. 2016 for context. This is more manpower and resources than most Republican presidential campaigns. Thursday, Sen. Kamala Harris de California spoke to MSNBC about the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida that resulted in 17 deaths and moved Kamala Harris Breitbart TV. At Mulber. Bernie Sanders' response to Mueller indictment does not address that this Russian operation tried to help his campaign for indictment. Just as I reported Ray Trump, that is a remarkable omission.
Welcome back, everybody. Third Phase Moon, Blake Cousins here, and we've got two incredible videos coming in from Florida. Let's get to it right now.
Hey, go turn the lights off in the truck real quick. Yeah.
Right, now the second video, coming in from Homestead, Florida. Alright, two of these videos were captured within the past 48 hours, February 14, 2018. Then we also have Aldo Mistral from Homestead, Florida.
Berlinolio opening Wes Anderson I Love Dogs is a Japanophile feast film DW 15.2.2018.
Seems to us right here, Third Phase Moon, that there are two events going down. Some people are saying that these
Germany SSPD sinks to record low in latest polls news DW 16.2.2018.
to their boots, but we've done some research and so far we haven't found any reports of any kind of event, aerial display of parachutes.
Barack and Michelle Obama portraits unveiled in Washington News DW 12.2018.
But right now, they seem to be two different events.
Turkey must to work together in Syria, France 24.
Right, now we go to this incredible video from a major jet airliner as a passenger makes his way to Taiwan. What is he captured outside?
Ethiopia declares state of emergency after PMS resignation, France 24.
I want to get your comments.
Deputy Igor Rosenstein on grand jury indictment of Russians. Video ahead of reported sale news DW 12.2018.
These mysterious UFOs seem to be tracking the major airliner. The person who shot this wants to remain anonymous. He submitted this video to MUFON. Right now, we're trying to get a look at exactly what the anonymous videographer captured, but it seems to us that this is a genuine UFO event. What's your thoughts, people? Alright, now, L.A. Marzulli, he's going to be our guest tonight. We're going to be doing a live broadcast via Third Phase of Moon Radio. It starts 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
The Google Chrome ad blocker has already changed the web wired.
The DNA results in regards to the Paracas skulls discovered in Peru. Is this some kind of new human being that has been discovered? It seems out of place. The DNA...
A timeline of the tightening siege in eastern Ghouta, Syria deeply.
What it implicates in regards to human history and evolution. If you want to call in...
Here are some of the most important quotes from Mueller's indictment of Russians.
347-934-0378.
Canada postpones marijuana legalization.
Is going to be with us. Join me, Third Phase of Moon. Blood Cousins, keep your eyes on the skies, everybody. We'll see you again next time.
Dreamers in limbo as Senate rejects immigration bills, France 24.
We've got two incredible videos coming in from Florida. Let's get to it right now.
Hey, go turn the lights off on the truck real quick.
Federer becomes oldest world number 1, France 24. In Homs, Assad accused of using military for urban planning Syria deeply. Russian stocks stumble on Mueller indictment.
Second video coming in from Homestead, Florida.
Adam Schiff can't stop lying. Alex Jones info hours. There is a war on for your mind. Political news, international and the politics. Sky News.
Alright, two of these videos were captured within the past 48 hours, February 14, 2018. Then we also have Aldo Mistral from Homestead, Florida. They're about 35 miles distance from one another, about an hour and a half drive. It seems to us right here, Third Phase Moon, that there are two events going down. Some people are saying that these are parachute jumpers with some kind of pyrotechnics
Instagram removes post after Russia watched on borders.
Some research, and so far we haven't found any reports of any kind of event, aerial display of parachutes in either location. We're still going to be following up, but right now they seem to be two different events. What's going on in Florida?
Business news, markets reports, and financial news from Sky News. How Turkey has potential Afrin push measures up against Syria deeply.
By popular demand, Paul Barrett is back with his third album, Third Phase of Moon, The Strangest Things.
The fate of minorities in post-ISIS Syria and Iraq. Syria deeply. How de-escalation zones in Syria became a war management strategy. Syria
On
deeply.
your favorite channel, Third Phase of Moon. Available on iTunes, Amazon, and music streaming services. Barrett's Third Phase of Moon.
The impact of
The
Chechen and
Strangest
North
Things.
Caucasian militants in Syria. Syria deeply.
Available right now. Links are below.
The Black Panther movie is racist. Alex Jones info hours. There is a warrant for your mind. The humanitarian crisis in Syria's northern de-escalation zone. Syria deeply. Russia's troll identities were more sophisticated than anyone thought of.
we're not alone.
Just how populist is AMLO, as he's referred to, when we've been reporting that he's been meeting with business leaders and executives from U.S. banks like JP Morgan or Citigroup?
Hi there. Yes, he's trying to tone down his message, but there's still a lot of
Brazil's
questions
military is
about
put in charge of security in Rio de Janeiro, the New York Times.
Reform, which at first he wanted to completely undo.
Must track coverage on Syria from 2017. Syria deeply
dismantling, and speaking of elections,
life under siege, how people struggle to survive in eastern Syria deeply.
There's a comparison to Trump, because people weren't expecting necessarily at this stage in 2016 a win by Trump. In Mexico, I would say there's even more denial because the polls are showing López Obrador 9 points ahead of his nearest rival, and still the markets haven't really priced it in.
Okay, back up. So he's left. What specifically is he saying that he's going to do?
On energy reform, originally he had said he wanted to cancel this landmark law to open the energy sector for the first time for private investment. He's since
Feds to repeal 298 tax regulations. Alex Jones info hours. There is a warrant for your mind.
Some of the people in his cabinet say the contracts are fine. The problem is you're not really clear on what he would do once he gets into office if he wins. So, there's just a lot up in the air on the energy reform specifically. And then
Kentucky teen charged with murder and assault after January school shooting with 2 ANPR.
And he said that he wants to dismantle this huge construction site that is already underway, so he can move the project to a cheaper site. But investors are worried what would happen to all the material that's already been spent, all of the debt that's already been taken out for this new airport project.
And Naha, we have a chart here looking at the Mexpol index, the stock market there in Mexico versus the MSCI emerging market index. It has been outperforming, although not by a huge margin, but I'm curious where the polling is right now and where investors are putting the risk that they're not pricing in a high
People
enough
are injuring
chance
themselves
that
by
he
walking into
actually
glass
could
at
be
the Apple
victorious.
campus, reportedly scared.
Well, for the investors who are paying attention,
Major New York's bot can crash phones and disable access to apps and iMessages alert.
15% dip in the stock market if
Trump
López Obrador
administration
wins the
recommends
election.
steep tariffs on steel and
Also
aluminum
hearing about
February
peso
16,
volatility.
2018.
According to BBVA, it could be, we could see a
People
drop
are
of
trolling
about
phone users with a
7%
killer
in the
symbol that
peso.
crashes their app's tech crunch.
Moody's has said it could be a very drastic drop, as well as, although
Black
once we
Panther
see
leads
how
to
he implements his
$47 in 3
policies,
days overseas tops Doctor Strange deadline.
that happens, can we really see how poorly the market would perform?
And what's interesting about Obrador, Nahan, is that he ran in 2006 and 2012, and he was defeated each time. You mentioned that he's kind of changed his tone a little bit here when it comes to the state-run oil company. Has his message overall changed since his previous runs, or has the environment
Jennifer
changed?
Aniston and Brad Pitt reunion seems unlikely. People come.
Reception to his platform changed?
That's a really good question. I think it's more the latter. And because of the people changing their views, you don't see the protests in the street that you would have seen 12 years ago. He has also had to come in and modify his views, especially because he's talking to businessmen. He's dealing more and more with CEOs and people that he didn't have the access to back 12 years ago. So he's kind of learned and grown in that area, but investors are still wary because they don't know exactly what he's going to do when he gets, if he gets into power. It's still not clear.
Now, finally, I would like to ask you, given the news here in the United States today, with Robert Mueller unveiling these indictments and alleging all of this Russian meddling in the U.S. electoral process, what's going on there in Mexico? Is this a topic of discussion? Is it being investigated there as well?
Really good question. So the U.S., Tillerson was here talking about the possibility of Russia meddling. There's been some lawmakers in the U.S. that have talked about that possibility or raised the concern. But in Mexico, the mood on the ground is they really don't have proof. They're not really concerned about it, and the way that people are worried about the meddling specifically would be to give a lift to López Obrador, and he's actually sort of scoffed at it and made fun of it and joked it off, and the voters don't seem to mind.
The superintendent of Seminole County Schools will now ask the governor for his guidance over what to do about an absent school board member.
Board member Jeffrey Bauer hasn't been to a school board meeting since February 28th of last year. All new for 5 right now. Channel 9's Jeff Love Coolidge is live outside the board offices. And Jeff, last week the district actually sent a letter to him asking to give them an answer about his future.
Upside down, green triangle and cannabis leaf becomes patch symbol.
Martha, it didn't happen. That deadline came and went without a peep from Jeff Bauer. Now, the district told me that he's had some health issues in the past, which is why he's been absent from those meetings.
Searching is what I do. Whoa. Is humanity ready for the discovery of alien life? Scientific Hash American. Hold up, you have to see this. We use cookies to provide you with a better on-site experience. By continuing to browse the site, you are agreeing to our use of cookies in accordance with our cookie policy. Most Americans would probably be thrilled to learn extraterrestrials, intelligent or not, exist. Other nationalities beg to differ. When Oumuamua, a mysterious interstellar object, swept through our solar system last October, it elicited breathless news stories all asking the obvious question: is it a spaceship? There were no signs it was, although many people seemed to hope otherwise. Throughout history, most strange new cosmic phenomena have made us wonder, could this be it, the moment we first faced alien life? The expectation isn't necessarily outlandish. Many scientists can and do make elaborate, evidence-based arguments that we will eventually discover life beyond the bounds of our planet. To true believers, what may be more uncertain is whether or not such news would cause global panic, which depends on how our minds, so greatly influenced by our earthly environment and society, would perceive a potential threat of something utterly outside our familiar context. There is this feeling amongst the public, a very large fraction of the public, that the discovery of intelligent life at least would be kept secret by the government, because otherwise everybody would just go bonkers, says Seth Shostak, an astronomer at the SETI Institute who was not involved with the study. Perhaps it might make sense for our brains, tuned by millions of years of evolution, to be wary of predators, to freak out over immensely powerful alien beings arriving on our cosmic doorstep from parts unknown. Physics creates new form of light that could drive the quantum hash computing revolution. I'm glad I don't have to live with people, sheesh. For the first time, scientists have watched groups of 3 photons interacting and effectively producing the new form of light. In results published in Science, researchers suggest that this new light could be used to perform highly complex, incredibly fast quantum computations. The discovery that photons can interact could be harnessed for quantum computing. Christine Daniloff/MIT. Keep up with this story and more by subscribing now. Photons are tiny particles that normally travel solo through beams of light, never interacting with each other. Yet in 2013, scientists made them clump together in pairs, creating a new state of matter. This discovery shows that interactions are possible on a greater scale. Number of flu deaths hash reported in Indiana rises to 195 bar Fox 59. I was sifting through some things and I found this. Indianapolis, Indiana. The Indiana State Department of Health says flu activity is continuing to rise. According to the latest flu report released on Friday, 195 Hoosiers have died this season. That is up from last week's report of 167 people. Additionally, 15 different counties have now reported at least 5 flu deaths. The breakdown of flu deaths by counties is as follows: Adams 7, Allen 17, Boone 5, Floyd 7, Brent 7, Hamilton 10, Johnson 5, Blake 5, Madison 5, Marion 16, Morgan 7, Shelby 6, St. Joseph 6, Tippecanoe 5, and Vanderburg 6. Although the majority of flu-related deaths in Indiana have occurred in individuals aged 65 and older, nearly 78% of the influenza-like illnesses reported this year involve individuals aged 24 and younger, according to the ISD. Sean Richards, an outbreak supervisor for ISD, recommends getting vaccinated, washing your hands and staying home if you are sick. Click here to read the full report. Michigan publishes medical hash marijuana universal symbol weed news. This is amazing. The Dept. of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs (LARA) released information today to inform and advise license applicants regarding the labeling of medical marijuana products under the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. An advisory bulletin was also issued to publish the universal symbol as required by the emergency rules. A marijuana plant or marijuana product containing tetrahydrocannabinol THC that is being sold or transferred must be labeled according to emergency rules 38 and 39. Prior to marijuana product being sold or transferred to or by a provisioning center, the container, bag, or product holding the marijuana product must have a label and be sealed with all the following information. A file containing an image of a universal symbol will be provided on the department's website. If a plant or product does not meet the definition of marijuana as defined in EMFLA, then the universal symbol is not required. More information on the BMMR can be found at the Bureau's website. For more information about Lara, please visit Michigan.gov/Lara. Upside down, green triangle and cannabis leaf hash becomes pot symbol. Crazy people. Crazy people everywhere. Already a subscriber? Subscribe today for full access on your desktop, tablet, and mobile device. Already a print edition subscriber, but don't have a login? Manage your account settings. View the e-newspaper. Florida, Russia, #Turkey. Your Friday evening briefing, the New York Times. Check this out, it's high energy. Want to get this briefing by email? Here is the sign up. Good evening. Here is the latest. One. He had a desire to kill. That is what a tipster told the FBI about Nicholas Cruz, the Florida school shooting suspect, last month. But the agency didn't follow through on the tip. In an unusually sharp public rebuke of his own agents, Attorney General Jeff Sessions said that the missed warnings had tragic consequences and that we must do better. Rick Scott called for the Bureau's director, Christopher A. to resign.